Hello everyone, I'm Dawn. Thank you so much for visiting with me today. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel, The Cutting Board. We do all kinds of things here. We do DIYs, we do true crime discussion, we chit chat, we do vlogs, hauls, product reviews, SFX makeup, food content, and most importantly, at least to me, Disney and travel content. So if any of that is of interest to you, please join me. So in this video, we are going to discuss a current case that is both shocking and upsetting. It's very disturbing. And I'm issuing a trigger warning right here, as the details will be difficult to hear in that they are so gruesome. And the victim is, as unfortunately with many of these cases, she's very young. So, trigger warning. There is a lot of conflicting information and discrepancies in this case as far as who the young lady lived with, who had custody, how much was her biological mother really involved in her life. For example, how long her grandmother had custody. Through my research, I found that she's had actual legal custody of the young lady for approximately 1 year. but that she had consistently lived with her for 5 years, and before that she lived with her godmother since she was a baby. Then I read that she was back and forth between her grandmother, her godmother, and her mother, and back and forth between her grandmother and her godmother. There's a lot of issues. But one thing seems certain, at least to me: her biological mom actually had very little to do with her. So there may be inconsistent findings if you watch a variety of videos, which I encourage you to do. I did pretty deep internet research, and I try to provide the most accurate information based on that research and the information I gather. But I always encourage people to do their own research. So you may find varying information, but the bottom line is what the bottom line is. And there's also a few issues with the timeline. She was reported missing on the morning of March 18th, which was a Tuesday. But Grandma Dorothy said she reported her missing on Monday. This may have just been misspeaking, an issue with confusion, because she did work the night shift. She worked overnight, and she may have just been confused. So I'm not putting too much into that. But we will go over the timeline in more depth in a future video, because I am going to continue to cover this case, just as I am Madeline Soto. So 13-year-old Kaimani Lateague of Toledo, Ohio, was said to be a sweet, bright girl. She was actually getting ready to receive a kindness award at her school. She was the oldest of 4 children, and she lived with her grandmother, Dorothy, who became her legal guardian about 1.5 years ago. I'm not sure why she didn't live with her siblings. I'm not sure what the familial situation is, and I'm not completely sure who her siblings currently live with, whether it's with the biological mother or their fathers or whatever the case may be. But we know that Kaimani lived with her grandmother. She was just days away from turning 14 years old. Around 11:55 a.m. on March 18th, police responded to a call made by Dorothy Lateague to report that Kaimani did not show up for school, and when Dorothy attempted to call Kaimani's cell phone, it went straight to voicemail, which was extremely unusual. Kaimani had never done anything like this before. She wasn't a runaway. This was completely out of character for her. So naturally, her grandmother worried. Dorothy and Keimani were the only two people that lived in their residence, along with two dogs. According to Dorothy, Keimani was home alone the night before and was alone all night as Dorothy worked the night shift, so she worked through the night. When Dorothy came home the next morning, she said the front door was unlocked, the house was in disarray, and the stove was turned on. But Keimani was not there in the home at all. Their two dogs were there, though. Keimani's keys were found by her grandmother, and also her glasses were found, which Keimani needed to see with. And she would have never left her keys or her glasses behind. Keimani's pajamas were found on the dining room floor. After Dorothy called the police, it was discovered that Keimani was with her father, Darnell Jones. However, sometimes he went by the last name Ogletree. He had picked Keimani up for the weekend for the 15th and 16th. He took her to see her mother, Tierra Caston, on the 15th. And I had heard and read that it was very unusual for Tierra to spend any time at all with Keimani. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I've been told. But there is no real hard and fast proof of that. A lot of the information, no offense to anyone, but a lot of the information being provided about Keimani's life is being provided by unreliable resources that are, trying to shape a scenario or narrative to fit their belief. So, some of these details should just be taken with a grain of salt, as a lot of the people who are talking they're trying to get their 15 minutes off the blood of this little girl. It's unfortunate, but that's true. And before you say that's what I'm doing, that is false, and do not accuse me of that. I'm not obtaining fame or money from these videos. I barely break $2 from a video like this. I'm just trying to raise awareness that children need more protection. They're being preyed upon. Mental health care needs to be more easily obtained. People, especially men, need to be taught there's no shame in getting mental health care. And folks need to be taught about personal responsibility at a young age, so they are less likely to bring children into this world that will be brutalized and victimized and killed because they're not being raised by the right people. Sorry, I know that's harsh, but it is the way it is. Just because we don't say something doesn't mean it's not that way. These things can happen to any child, but statistically speaking, it is almost always children with these complicated family situations. Almost always. So let me continue. I'm getting heated. Darnell told Tierra that he dropped Keimani off at her home, at Keimani's home, where she lived with her grandmother, around 10 p.m. on the 17th. But he said he took her for the 15th and 16th, so I don't know. Again, that's a timeline issue. But Keimani called him and asked him to come back around 11:30 because, according to Darnell, Keimani was afraid someone was trying to break into the house or was prowling around outside, and she was frightened and home alone. So she did what a lot of girls do, call their dad. So Darnell told Keimani's mom he went back to the house to stay with her until she wasn't scared anymore. He said that he left around 12:30 a.m.
I came over here because she said that if it seemed like somebody was trying to break into the house. So I sat for an hour, me and my cousin, we sat over here. And we left around like 12:30-ish.
There were missing posters sent out describing Keimani as a 13-year-old, 5'6", with black hair, brown eyes, approximately 126 pounds. 3 days later, on March 21st, a search party was organized. Why did it take 3 days to organize a search party? I mean, I'm sure the police were looking, but... And why were her pajamas found in the dining room? On the dining room floor? I don't know. It's just, this is a weird story. There are so many questions starting to form. And Dad's story is just, it's not good. If she was afraid, why wouldn't he just spend the night on the couch? You know, I don't know his life. I don't know his situation, but this is supposedly his child, but there are some issues with that too. But I'll go on. We'll get back to him. Keimani's grandmother said on the news that she just wanted Keimani to come home. She wasn't in any trouble. She just wanted her to come home. She said that Keimani was a very responsible girl, a latchkey kid that stayed in contact with her grandmother and just would not vanish like this. Tiara, her mother, Keimani's biological mother, went to Toledo to help search. I'm not sure where she lived, but I'm assuming she lived close. She said she never had a seizure before, but had over 3 in the past few days. I thought that was a weird thing to say, like, my daughter's missing, give me attention. But maybe I'm just being judgy, which, you know, I am. 6 days after Keimani had last been seen, she was still not found. But an abduction charge had been filed on March 23rd against Darnell. And an arrest warrant was issued. The affidavit stated that Jones was the last person to be with Keimani before she went missing, and had allegedly given he had allegedly given inconsistent statements about his activities with the victim as well as her whereabouts and locations. It also stated that phone and surveillance video were also factors in these charges. And it was also stated, in addition to that he removed Keimani without consent of her legal guardian, her grandmother. He had consent for the 15th and 16th, but I guess not the 17th and 18th. His girlfriend, who he had been living with, said that he called her on March 21st, asking her to turn off their surveillance cameras. She thought, that is a weird request. So she left the cameras on. Good on her, because she don't want to make herself an accessory. The girlfriend said the police searched and found a rolled up SUV mat used to protect the inside of a car of SUV, and also his work boots were muddied, but he hadn't been working. When Darnell realized those items were gone, that's when he took off, with his daughter missing. When the arrest warrant was issued, Darnell Jones could not be found. So he ran. He wasn't helping to find her, because in my opinion, allegedly, he already knew where she was and he had to get out of there. So this was a CYA situation. Also, the question of whether or not he actually is Keimani's biological father is out there, because her biological mother has allegedly told her mother, Keimani's grandmother, that he isn't her biological father. But it's such a mess. People do their children no favors by creating these confusing familial situations because of their irresponsible behavior. I'm sorry. Judgy? Yes. Do I care? No. I get sick of people living irresponsible lifestyles like this, like their choices don't matter, like their choices aren't going to hurt other people. Sorry, it just sets me off. Maybe that's wrong of me, and it sounds like victim blaming, but that's how I feel, and I'm not going to change. I've worked in many jobs, and I've had family members who have made these same irresponsible decisions that lead to one bad thing right after another for the children. It's not good. It's not. Let's just say I know someone that has several children from several different men. She has like 14 children from 95 men, and she's not even sure who at least one of the daddies is. And her children have paid the price that her nasty little choices have cost them. They are paying the price now. Anyway, Keimani's grandmother said Darnell was more a part of Keimani's life than her own biological mother. On March 24th, the Toledo police were searching an old, abandoned, burned out, but still standing house. I'm not sure if they got a tip or where the information came from the search there, but they were searching. The abandoned house was about a 10-minute drive from where Keimani lived with her grandmother.
Here at this house right behind me, as you'll see, police officers were just searching through the house, taking pictures. Up there on that second floor, you can actually see a lot of activity up there, people taking pictures earlier, police officers, searching to find out exactly what happened all here. They do have a body inside the house, or they found a body inside the house, but they have not yet identified with me who it is. They do tell me, though, that it is in relation to 13-year-old Keimani Lateague.
The police confirmed that they did find a body, but did not identify who the victim was yet. And naturally, people are going to demand answers. But given inaccurate information, it could be very devastating. So it is very important to let the police do their work. As hard as it is, it's hard to wait, I understand. Tiara, Keimani's mother, wanted to see the body to identify her, to see if it was Keimani. And I understand wanting to know, wanting that bit of closure. I understand that. But I also understand that they can't just let her go look at a dead body, especially in the alleged condition this body was found in. The Lucas County Coroner's Office confirmed that the body was that of Keimani. An autopsy showed that the cause of death is incised wounds of the neck, and manner of death is homicide. Her father at this point is charged with her murder. And I'm going to jump around a little bit at this point, but I'll try to make it as seamless as possible. Just bear with me. There is just a lot of information. So it is also confirmed that she was SA'd, but then police say no, that wasn't confirmed. So we don't know. At the time of me recording this video, I don't know if that's 100% been confirmed. It's also being said that her hands were cut off, but I have been unable to find true confirmation of that other than an emotional and angry outburst by the Columbus Police Department lieutenant and Fraternal Order of the Police president, Brian Steele. Now, I know a lot of content creators are mentioning her hands being cut off, and it could very well be true, and that is brutal. But every bit of information that I could find in the court documents that I've seen so far, autopsy information, all of it leads back to Steele's comments, which, as far as my research on that information, other than what Steele said, that it has not been released to the public about the hands. Although it is said police confirmed it. So, I don't know. Sorry about that. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I would be comfortable if I had more than what I'm finding on it before I'll say that definitively that her hands were removed. It is again said that law enforcement confirmed that her hands were severed. But again, I have not seen that on any legal documentation as of the time of recording this video, so I don't want to say that. Please understand that. It may be true. I realize it's true, but I'm just not going to say that right now. So I'm just not accepting that yet. Honestly, Brian Steele, he should have kept his comments to himself, because at the point of this news appearance, the family didn't even know. They didn't know the details, and he just told the whole world details about the case that were not released at all, not released to the parents even, or the mother. So her grandmother likely heard this guy say her granddaughter was sexually assaulted, her throat was cut, and her hands were cut off. There is no easy way to give a loved one that information. There really isn't. But there is such a thing as tact. And that guy's statements are not it. They're just not. I understand being mad. I understand it. But he didn't offend my delicate sensibilities. He exposed information that the police were not yet ready to release, because the family needs to find out first and foremost, appropriately and tactfully. No, not easily. It's not going to be easy, but appropriately and tactfully.
I received a call we never want to get. One of our officers was involved in a police-involved shooting. Immediately went to scene to speak to our officer, one of our SWAT officers, a dedicated officer, highly trained, as you know, our Special Operations Bureau, longtime member. He's okay. Thank God he's okay. When I heard about this case, this was an individual wanted for homicide out of Toledo. I called my union counterpart in Toledo. I said, hey, good news, we have your guy. Your guy committed a murder, chose to fled to our town. I'll tell you right now, the wrong town to come to if you murder somebody. Our SWAT team will go out looking for you. This case is one of the most horrific cases I ever heard. This is a 14-year-old that was murdered, raped, had her hands cut off, and her throat almost cut off. This is an absolute animal that came into our town. I understand some of your editors won't let you print the word animal or view the word animal. If people are more offended to how I'm describing him, how he treated that girl, that's on them, not on me. Again, I'm glad our officers are okay. Our SWAT are the best of the best. We just sent a message. You murder somebody, do not come to this town. I know they were looking for him. I worked the street yesterday, and there was a bolo put out yesterday about this, so it was on everybody's mind. The officers are circulating the area, patrol detectives, they're looking for this individual. This is what SWAT does. SWAT goes out there. Some of them have uniforms, some are in plain clothes, in plain cars. And it's my understanding that they had a location on this suspect vehicle, and they did what they do. They circulated the area, they saturated the area of the Short North, and one of the SWAT officers did find them. There was a confrontation. The individual had a gun. You pull a gun on his officers. We've said many times, this is the outcome you could expect. The officers shot him. It's my understanding he is in a local hospital right now. I do not know if he fired back. I just know a gun was recovered from the scene. It's my understanding this individual might have been walking around the Short North area all night. You got not just a murderer, a violent murder, a sadistic murderer in our neighborhoods is appalling. Again, thankful for the men and women of the Division of Police, our members, for going out there every day, finding these individuals and removing them from our street. I'm so glad nobody else was hurt.
Toledo Police Chief Mike Trendle said Steele may have released some untrue or inaccurate information. He also said Steele, is releasing details that somehow he became knowledgeable of that affect another police department's case. Another police department's investigation. Important facts that actually allow them to confirm suspects and to rule out suspects. To do things in that investigation, various things. Those are details that they would never release in an investigation, ever. And he continued, but let's talk about the second factor. How insensitive is that? He had no idea if the family knows any of those details. He has no idea. Our coroner hadn't done the autopsy yet when he was running around saying those things. So he is mad. He was mad.
It's probably the worst possible outcome, and eventually it evolved into us believing there was foul play, us believing that her dad may have something to do with it. Dad was interviewed. He gave us his version of the story. Eventually, we had nothing to say that was not true. Those are things that happened later on in the week that we started saying, some of the things he told us was not true. Why is he lying to us? And until we can get him back here and interview him and talk to him, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know the answer to because we have not been able to interview him since we knew he was the suspect.
Did the Columbus police officer say anything that was wrong, Brian Steele?
Yeah. Well, did he say anything that was wrong? Sure. If you're talking factually, I'm not going to get into whether he was factually correct or not. But what I will tell you is I was very taken aback by those comments. To me, unprofessional. Not his place. There's a lot of things that he was running his mouth about that he had no business talking about. Those are details that we would never release in an investigation. How insensitive is that? He has no idea if the family knows any of those details. Our coroner hadn't done the autopsy yet when he's running and saying those things.
Darnell was additionally charged with Keimani's murder. However, he could not be located. But, being the genius that he is, he called his girlfriend and told her where he was. And she wanted no part of protecting him. She wanted no part of that. So she called the police and told them where he said he was. Good on her, MVP girl. It's important to add here that a teacher stated that she, as well as other staff members, called CPS multiple times to report various things that Keimani had said that were concerning statements to her. She had bruises frequently. At one of the times her family was reported, Keimani did not live with her grandmother. I think it may have been the godmother at the time, but I could not find clarification of that. But apparently, allegedly, her godmother was caring for her at the time. And that was before her grandmother gained legal custody. I can understand frustration with allegations not being properly looked into, but I don't know if it has a whole lot to do with this case. I don't. We'll find out more as the time goes by. Unless it was the father involved in the injuries to Keimani. Her grandmother says that she did not hurt her. There were never allegations against her grandmother that were substantiated. Yet, the community was attacking her grandmother, verbally. It is not completely clear which all adults in Keimani's life the allegations were made against. There were allegations made against her grandmother. There were reports made against Dorothy. But they were all closed out. They were investigated and closed. Darnell Jones was located in Columbus, Ohio, 140 miles away from where he lived in Toledo. Jones was injured when he was shot several times by a SWAT officer.
I drove away, and there's an SUV stopped in the middle of the intersection.
Come here, man.
Don't do it.
What's your name?
Just kill me.
Dude, show me your hands.
This happens.
Shots fired. Pass in a second. Get back, man.
Don't move. Don't move.
All right, suspect down. All you guys are okay.
You're gonna be fine. Listen, hey, nothing's ever that bad, all right?
Yes.
Okay, well. Darnell, right? Do you have anything else on you? Do you have any more guns? Get you help, okay?
Yeah, so obviously, just like any other officer-involved shooting, this is preliminary investigation. Earlier this morning, one of our SWAT teams was working a dangerous individual who was wanted for a serious crime. And SWAT was given information that this gentleman was in this particular area. When SWAT arrived, they did make contact with the suspect in question that they were looking for, confirming the identity of, in fact, that suspect being the person that they were watching. I can confirm that an officer did discharge their firearm, striking the suspect. The suspect was transported to a local hospital. This is a safe, contained situation, and there's no longer a threat to the public.
He was transported to Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, and he was in stable condition and expected to survive, which is great because we need to find out what happened. It is important to stress that his crimes against Keimani, allegedly, they are alleged, but the police have enough evidence to charge him with her murder, assault, and kidnapping. You know, he gave inconsistent statements. They have evidence from the girlfriend. He tried to set up a story where maybe there was a prowler outside Keimani's home, you know, by saying Keimani called him and said that she was scared. And he ran. That's the biggest thing. He ran. He took off. His daughter is missing and he takes off. If that doesn't look suspicious, come on. Not suspicious at all. But he's currently, at the time of this recording, he is in custody at a Columbus area correction center. But here's an updated note. He waived arraignment in Franklin County Municipal Court on a charge of felonious assault, that would be on a police officer, in connection with a confrontation with Columbus police. That was the shooting. And he will be picked up by Lucas County to face the charges in his alleged crimes against Keimani. Whether he's been picked up at the time of this recording, I don't know yet, but he is charged with felonious assault in Columbus and murder, felonious assault, and abduction of Keimani. As far as Lucas County Children Services, the organization that received reports regarding Keimani, they plan an internal review of its handling of the Keimani Lateef case, and they requested a formal review from the statewide agency that oversees local child protection agencies. Isn't that always the way? They dive into these cases when it's too late, when the child's already lost, already gone. Now let's look into it. Gabrielle, remember him? During 2 investigations involving Keimani's grandmother, Keimani reportedly said that she felt safe in her home with her grandmother. Lucas County Children's Services said her grandmother had admitted to using physical discipline, but that there was no evidence found that would support removing Keimani from her home. The agency has no record of anyone reporting concerns about Keimani for an entire year prior to her murder, despite community gossip that suggests otherwise. It's just community gossip. Images of Dorothy being led out of her home by police in handcuffs that popped up on Facebook and social media sparked even more speculation of grandmother's possible involvement. She explained that was done for her safety. She said if she was seen in cuffs, that might pacify the situation, and the angry crowd, threatened her would kind of shut up. But that actually had the opposite effect. But, I mean, really, what was she thinking? If the people think you're guilty of something and they see you being let out of your house in handcuffs, that looks bad. I don't know. I think it makes her look more involved. I don't know. That just seems weird to me. So, being put in handcuffs and being put in a police car, maybe it's standard operational procedures, But the angry public doesn't necessarily know that, and it just doesn't look good. And I can't imagine why she would think that would make her look less guilty to the people that think she's involved. I don't think she's involved. I don't think she did anything, but, you know, a lot of people think she does. But that's always the way. Blame the maternal figure. That's always the way. So Darnell Jones has a pretty long rap sheet. Arson, weapons charges, felonious assault with serious injury. That was in 2017. Another felonious assault, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, criminal damage or endangering property, menacing, DV, obstruction, drug charges, a whole plethora of crimes, and of course now his current charges. He's a criminal through and through. He is. This is a criminally minded individual. But I want to show you this video that I obtained from Sleuthy Lucy. That's kind of hard to say. Sleuthy Lucy's video, Daddy's Deception, the Keimani Lateef case. So I'm going to share this video with you. I'm not excusing his behavior if he did do this to Keimani, but this video seems like a cry for help. It really does. It could be anything but that, but that's what it seems like. And you all know I am a proponent of mental health care, and when there is a cry for help, help that person if you can, even if it means just giving them a phone number. I'm not saying if he sought help, this tragedy could have been avoided. Probably couldn't have been. But it wouldn't have hurt him to get some help. If you've ever felt like he is expressing he feels in this video, please talk to someone. I don't want anyone to feel like this, even him. People say it's not easy to get mental health care, but you have to try if you need it. If he did this, he is a disgusting individual. I do believe he did that, and there isn't a deep enough spot in hell for him. But if I had seen this video, not knowing what I know, I would feel so bad for this guy. This video is from 2019. He could have just been having a bad day. But then again, I look at it, and after looking at his criminal record, I just think, dude, bad stuff keeps happening because you keep doing bad stuff. So I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, I guess. Also, we don't know if this essay of Keimani was a one-time thing, if it even happened. It wasn't completely confirmed yet, or if it was ongoing. We will probably learn more as the investigation continues, and I'll be paying attention to it. I'll be following this case very closely and will provide updated information as I am able to. I feel myself getting sick again, so we'll see. But that's all for right now. I'm sorry about the bleak nature of this video, but you know, we need to recognize that these things are really happening. And ignoring it isn't going to make it stop. So, but I'll talk to everyone later. Bye.